Treva, you now have quorum.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our April 13th meeting of our South Central Workforce Development Board. Before we get started, I'd just like to welcome special guest, Judge Fleener. He is our newly elected Cleo from Butler County. So thank you very much for joining us, Judge Fleener, and thank you for your service to this board. I'll just make a couple announcements. This week, I was able to attend a roundtable meeting with our Kentucky board chairs, and that was led by Kim Minke, our K-Wib chair. And we had a very interesting discussion. It was so good. They've already put a July meeting on the calendar. Our discussions involved just the challenges that we're all facing, our successes as well. And I will just brag on the team here that they are on top of it. So you all are doing, there's a lot more struggle in other areas than we are having here. So that's always good news. But the point is for us to all work together and support each other. So hopefully this team can share our successes and help the rest of the boards in this state. I was also able to attend the Workforce Collective in Barron County a couple weeks ago. And I haven't seen the evaluations, but from the looks on everyone's faces that attended, they really enjoyed what you all did. And I think that they will be able to take what they learned out into the community and hopefully get more people to work in Barron County. So that's all I have. And I'm going to turn it over to John for opening remarks.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to have everybody here today. It's a beautiful spring day, and it's good to see everybody. Welcome, Judge Fleener. Glad to have you all join us this morning. And I also see Dr. Boone on. So welcome, Dr. Boone. The focus of today's board meeting is going to be strategic goal number 1, which is actively engage employers and drive innovative workforce solutions across the region. This morning, you're going to hear about how we have been serving employers through funded internships, funded OJTs, hiring events, and more. To preface this conversation about employer support, I want to share that we really struggled with employer support throughout 2021 and the early parts of 2022. In that time period, we had some turnover. We had a quote unquote hiring freeze where we couldn't hire a business service representative for 4 to 5 months. And so we struggled in that regard. But fortunately, a little over a year ago, we were able to bring on Bianca Wilson and Jake Brown through career team to be in our business services role. And we've had some stability for a little over a year, and we've really kind of grown into that position and thrived. And of course, Tony Gramando, who is our local veteran employment rep, has also kind of been a crucial part of the team. So we've had really good stability over the last 14 months, and the numbers that and the stories you'll hear today will bear that out. So we're really proud of how we're serving employers. But before we get to the employer discussion, there will be a couple of business items that we'll tend to here in a minute. Specifically, I'm going to walk the board through a discussion and a decision about unemployment insurance, which is agenda item number 6. And I'm going to present a mid-year review of the WIOA direct service contract and ask for a 1-year extension of that contract, which will be agenda item number 7. So those are my opening remarks. Again, I'm happy to see everybody, and we will get the board meeting underway.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is to approve our meeting minutes from our February 9th meeting. You all should have received those minutes in your board packet, and hope you've had time to review those. If you have any questions, raise your hand. If not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
This John Manel.
No, and I get it. I get it. I assumed that was coming based on.
All right. So I think John Bennell.
Okay, thank you, John. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the executive committee's updates from March 9th. Handed me. Thank you very much. Okay, so our last meeting, John provided the workforce participation update for us. And that was a detailed plan to help our employers identify and recruit talent pockets in each county. We also, he also let us know that the state had additional youth funds available, and he did submit a request for $182,000. Unfortunately, that request was not approved. Are you? So that.
Louisville got the money, so most of it anyway.
Yeah, that was 2 thumbs down. That was the one, right? The next topic was an update on the changes underway with the Glasgow, Kentucky Career Center. We've had a lot of low foot traffic in there for quite some time in Glasgow, and staffing challenges in Bowling Green. So we've pulled back staffing from full-time to intermittent. And then he stated his intent to conduct a mid-year review on the WIOA direct services contract. And that's something we will cover today, like John said, in agenda item number 7. And lastly, the executive committee reviewed progress goals for 2023. And next, let's move on to our financial report. Good morning, Colin.
Good morning. I hope all is well. So the financial report I'm presenting here is for through March 31st, which is the 3rd quarter of our fiscal year. We already passed 3 quarters, and next 3 months we were talking about the audits for the FY23 and then working with the auditors as well. So the numbers are, so annual budget, that's numbers as well, because as we receive additional funding, we add into the annual budget line as well. So right now, based on the funding we have received, is $3.3 million. Year to date, for the 9 months, it's average kind of 2.5. We have spent 2.1 at this point, 2.146 and $741. The one thing I would kind of remind everybody, including myself, that the contracts we have, those are cost reimbursement contracts. So you will have to incur the cost to collect the revenue. It's not the service fee based where you have to proactively get the revenue and what have you. Cost reimbursement based contracts. So up to this point, whatever the cost we have incurred, received or will receive from the state, there are no risk for not collecting any money. So it's just the timing where we are a little behind in the cost incurring, because some of the grant, especially tornado disaster relief, that number keeps changing. We are requesting more money, and we have awarded some more money as well. That was the reason budgeted number a little bit higher, but that money definitely will use it by the end of the term. So there's no risk for leaving any money on the table. The goal is to maximize the contract. And for last several years, we've been very successful to maximizing contract and not leaving any money on the table at this point. So, and the next line, the expenses, the major expense we have, the sub-grantee, the contract we have with the career team, their contract up to this point, $2.4 million. They have incurred 1.8362, which is a favorable variance, because if you spend less, but then again, we have the cost reimbursement model. So as we incur the money, we'll receive it as well. No risk there for there no risk for not utilizing the money at the end of the contract terms. And same thing, the board expenses, they are pretty much on the track as well. No risk is $861,000 annualized budget at this point. They incur 645, yeah, 645 year to date, and $652,000 is actually spent. So it's a kind of, you know, the $6,000 unfavorable is nothing as compared to, we're talking about $800,000 annual budget. So you can see that there's no surplus deficit. It's not supposed to be any surplus deficit because we are non-for-profit. And the one good thing that what we are incurring the cost, we are collecting from the state as of this point. Any questions, any concerns on this?
Do you have any comments or questions regarding the financial report? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Bob. Thank you, Bob. Second? I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on down to item agenda number 6. Thank you,
Thank
Holly.
you. Thank you.
Move on down to item number 6, employment insurance decision.
All right, good morning. So I've got to bring to you a decision that was going to require a little bit of explanation and probably a healthy amount of discussion. So the bottom line is we have not been paying into unemployment insurance, and we've got to decide how we're going to do that. So let me kind of go over how we got here. We just became aware of this fact in late February, and as we became aware of it, we entered into multiple conversations with our payroll provider, which is where your uninsurance should be paid out through or paid through, and with the Kentucky Office of Unemployment Insurance to figure out, okay, we haven't been doing it, so how do we proceed? So in terms of trying to figure out what happened, our payroll account was established in January of 2018, and based on what we've learned, we were paying into unemployment insurance up through April of that year. So, around 3 months or so, and then it stopped. What I believe has happened, the best that we can determine, is that although we set up unemployment insurance through our payroll provider, we did not complete the registration process with the state, with the Kentucky Office of Unemployment Insurance, and so we didn't have an account for that money to go to. So I believe that's how it stopped. This is what we think has happened, and really we've been kind of tooling along, not even aware that we were not paying into this until recently. How to proceed, I'll talk about that in the next slide. There's 2 options that we're going to go over. And then one little bit of context that I'll put out there is that we've only had one UI claim in the last 5 years, and that claim was in the summer of 2021. And this claim did trigger a notification letter to us that the person had filed a claim, but there was no further correspondence from the Office of Unemployment Insurance. There should have been, if we weren't properly registered with the Kentucky Office of Unemployment Insurance, there should have been some kind of call or letter from them saying, hey, there's an issue here because we don't see you guys registered. That didn't happen. Maybe, I don't know why, maybe it was the height of COVID. I mean, there could be any number of reasons, but we should have picked up on this 2 years ago, but we didn't. We're just picking up on it now. So let me go forward a slide. So 2 options that I'll walk the board through. There's the first one is a reimbursing account. And so reimbursing accounts are only available for nonprofits. And the way this works is we pay an insurance claim when somebody files. We don't prepay into the unemployment insurance program. If we're going to become a reimbursing account officially, then we have to do so by the 30th of this month. So again, if somebody, we don't pay any, we don't, under a reimbursing account, we don't pay anything in. But if somebody does file, there's going to be a weekly benefit amount that they are determined they're eligible for. The maximum weekly benefit amount today is $626. It could be less than that, but it won't be more than that. And right now, the state is paying 12 weeks of unemployment. So when you do the math, if we have somebody that leaves the organization and file, we could be on the hook for $7,500 for that person. If more than one person leaves, then it's going to be, it could be $7,500 per person. The kind of the pros on this approach is it's clean. There's no fees, there's no taxes, there's no reports that we have to do. Reimbursing accounts do favor stable working environments, which I think our track record points to that. We've only had one person leave in the last 5 years that has filed. But obviously the con is it can be very expensive if one or more folks leave and file a claim. The other option, which many of you are probably going to be more familiar with, is purchasing the unemployment insurance. And there's a whole formula on that, but basically for 2023, the rates are you're paying $300 per person into the program. Right now we have 9 employees. We would be, if we choose this option, we pay in $2,700 But there is a catch, and the catch is to do this, we've got to go back and we've got to reimburse 2021 and 2022. So I've got some estimated figures there. Go forward one slide, Brian. So we would be, $10,600 ish is what it would cost us to kind of catch up and buy into this traditional unemployment insurance program. The pros on this approach it is less expensive in the long run, but the con is it's going to be expensive to catch up and start. And there is a little bit more of an administrative burden to this on a routine basis. I have, Holland and I had a talk about this yesterday to make sure that this option number 2 was doable. I wanted to make sure that we, that we had the funding and that we that there weren't going to be any technicalities with paying back 2021 and 2022. We think that we can do it if this is the direction the board wants to go. Let's go forward one more. Normally, I provide the board a firm recommendation on one way or the other. To me, this is a bit of a toss-up. And so I thought what I would do is stop here and answer any questions and see which direction the board wants to go. There in the yellow, if the board wants to go with option number 1, there's some recommended language on how to phrase it for the motion, or option number 2 from some phrasing for that motion, if that's the direction. So I'll pause there and see what questions the board might have on unemployment insurance.
Hey, John, this is Chris. I'll throw some things out there for consideration as we make this decision. This is really about mitigating risk, and in private sector, we would say, we're looking at a worst case scenario that there's a big economic downturn or something happens and we have to lay off, or, worst case scenario, reduce our employee headcount. And in that kind of situation, option number 1 gets really expensive at a time when funds are very tight, usually. So that's there's big risk on our end for that reason. And that's the reason a lot, I think, of businesses like ours pay into the UI reserve, and then normal turnover issues pull from that. We get the letters from the state and have the option to contest or agree. It's a process. Fortunately, for your team, extremely low turnover, and that risk that I'm talking about doesn't really exist that way. I guess the only way we would see that type of risk in this situation would be if funds dry up, if money stops coming in for your team to use, then that's going to be the same time that you say, hey, I'm sorry, gotta go. It seems really unlikely. So the risk is different. Just something to consider.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
I guess my question is, will our funding go up this year? When we get our allocation? Does it look like it's going?
It does not look like it's going to go up. You'll read on the tea leaves. Normally, we've got some planning numbers by now. We've asked for them in the last week, and we still have not received them from the state. But the talk in the cabinet is that we're probably not going to see increasing funds. At this point, I'm hoping to get the same amount of this year.
That's what I was gonna ask, if it was anticipated decrease.
I don't know. It's we don't think there's going to be an decrease. I don't know about. I will say, the cruel irony of being in such a prosperous region is that the WIOA formula does not reward prosperity, right? If you have low unemployment and lots of job opportunities, the formula tends to give you less money. And so all these economic announcements for our region are great news for the communities, but for a workforce board that depends on the WIOA, it's actually likely that we get less, or we potentially will get less. So
We're utilizing everything that we get though, right? We're
Oh.
not turning money back in.
We're not turning money back. Not,
That's good. That means we haven't. eaten.
no, we've really, I mean, maybe a little off track. We've been very fortunate that for 2 years, we had a huge pot of COVID money to complement WIOA. And now we've got a huge pot of tornado money that's been complementing WIOA. So we've really kind of been fat, dumb, and happy for a couple of years with extra money. This time next year, we're probably just at WIOA and we're running really lean.
And John, one thing to think about is on July 1st, that 12 weeks increases to 16 weeks.
Oh, okay.
That's the minimum.
So on July, so I'll just repeat that so everybody hears it. So on July 1st, 12 weeks moves to 16 weeks. Okay, so that would obviously 7,500 is going to jump up to 10K-ish pretty quickly.
This is Bob Biltz. I agree 100% with Chris Boggs' synopsis of the differences between the private sector and our situation. We have had over the past few years positions that have not been, the existing positions that we lost funding for. I think Aaron's group was subject to that at one time. Would this be an eligible claim?
Bob, it would be. So if we have a grant funded position and the grant ends, that person could make an eligible claim, yes.
Yes.
So that would probably, I don't, like Chris said, we have extremely low turnover, except in a case like this. Are there any existing positions that are in jeopardy for loss of funding or funding that is coming up within a reasonable amount of time that we can ascertain whether or not those positions are going to be funded?
That's a great question. So Aaron's position and Jana's position they're both grant funded right now, and that grant is due to end at the end of June. Now there is a way ahead for Aaron and Jana right now that Aaron's is pretty much confirmed and Jana's is close to being confirmed. So if everything works out how the discussions are going, they will remain employed and they will not be filing for a claim. Mike Daly, who is our person down at Fort Campbell, I've got funding for him secured through the end of June, and the discussions with the city and the county for renewing his contract for a year are very favorable at this point, but I don't have the money in hand yet. So those are the three people that I mean, I can't 100% say that there wouldn't be that they wouldn't be unemployed and there would be a claim because I don't have the money in hand yet. But right now it looks like all three will continue to work for the foreseeable future, or at least for another year.
Is this insurance something you revisit every year in case you want to make a change, or how is that?
It's an annual. Every year you have to pay in.
So if you foresaw that something might be coming, you could change it up.
Well, if we wanted to go from reimbursing to purchasing, we're going to always have to go back and do a back pay. So if we're going to go with option, if we're going to go option 2, we'll have to bite the bullet at some point if we want to go that route.
Is it safe to say it'll never be cheaper than it is now then to catch up?
Probably safe to say.
Let me ask you a question. Is there an option to opt out once you have started? Hey, if you decided to do the option where we purchased the unemployment insurance
And then move to reimbursement.
and we decided later we wanted to opt out, is there an option to do that, or is it one and done?
Don't know. I would think there would be, but I'd have to ask that question specifically.
Hey, John.
Yes.
I know that if we go with option 1, it does require minutes to go to that, and we have to stay at that for 2 years. I don't know if we purchase the insurance, if we're stuck to a 2-year period as well, but I know with option 1, we have to stay at that for 2 years.
I know in my case, we have to renew every year, but we can also cancel at any time on an annual basis. There's no 2-year commitment. And we're using ClearPath for our workers' compensation out of Louisville.
So if we go with option 2, we got a reimbursement of 10,600, right? So, and then that would be 2,700 or
Well, the 2,700 is baked into the 10,600.
what it is. So, what are we looking at up front? We go with option 2, including paying back the 10,600.
That's it.
That's it, just 10,600.
10.6 should get us through the remainder of this, pay back the 2 years and get us through the remainder of 2023.
Maybe a question needs to be from you and your understanding it, but you said that say 2,700 will get from my employees for the remainder of 2023. And what is the starting next year? Is it $300 a monthly person, or is it then like $600 for
Yeah.
each person for the whole year?
No, it's 300 per person for the year.
Okay.
So the formula is on that first bullet, 2.7% of the first 11,100 somebody next, which comes out about 300. And that's what you pay in per person, and that covers you for the year.
John, is the term limit calendar year or business year? I know in our case, it's our business year.
All right, Bob, I think it's calendar year, but I'm gonna have to, I'll double
I'd say
check.
theirs is business year, it's probably the same products.
Business, okay. I'm gonna make a note and follow up on that question.
If the state fiscal year.
So do we have this money or where are we gonna get it from?
We do have the money. There's a little bit of accounting we got to do with the 2021 piece because of the way the federal funds work, but that Howell and I talked about yesterday. And he's confident that we've got a way to pay the full amount. So we have the funding and we have a pathway to pay it. I figured there'd be a lot of discussion on this, and it's a very, again, this is a,
I think if we have, if it's not gonna be too much of a hit, pay the 10.6 now, that mitigates later, 2,700, if it stays right around that area going forward. That would be less money you have to pay, and people or positions are getting cut, that means you're in some problems financially anyway.
right.
So that would be less amount then. It's all about mitigating risk, like we said earlier.
I can
So-
also tell you that claim history will affect future premiums as well. I know that very well. So if you do have some claims in the next year or two, there's a lag period, but those rates will be affected. You'll see a rise in your premium. I think it trails it by about 2 years in our case. And then you have to live with that the following 2 years as well.
Bob, that's a good point. And conversely, if you've got a stable environment and you don't have a lot of claims, that
Right.
you can move down from 2.7.
Right, right.
Just from a public, perception perspective, I think it would look horrible if we as a workforce board were in the paper because, oh, they don't have UI on their own employees. I mean, I don't want to be the elephant in the room, but I would rather just throw it out there. I think that would look very poorly for us as an organization.
Leslie, I was already feeling that guilt walking in here. Like, how could we not have unemployment? Of any organization that should know, it should have been us, and somehow we didn't know.
I can't help but feel like,
That's all.
I can't help but feel like it's okay for us to feel a little bit of this pain, you know, understand the circumstances, and some of our employers are dealing with this on scale. So, you know, probably good to work through the process. I guess if we're looking for a proposal, I'm trying to do research here because I'm not that knowledgeable on the subject. And let me ask one more question before I make a proposal here. Are we talking about option 2, paying into the state reserve, or are we talking about third-party unemployment insurance through someone?
Chris, it's my understanding we're paying into the state directly, not through a party. Deronda, is that a fair statement?
Yes, John, it is.
Okay, so I found as a resource an unemployment insurance guide for employers, and there's some details in here that I'm scrubbing quickly, but for me, it looks like the safe and responsible play to take the option 2, even with the understanding that it's possible option 1 may cost us the same amount of money here in just a few weeks. And to Leslie's point, it looks like best foot forward should somebody dig enough to find out that type of information. That's proposal if we're looking for one.
John, I'd like to make that motion that we go with option 2.
A motion to adopt option 2. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. See, that was painful. But
Hey, can I throw one option out there for discussion after the fact? The only thing that worries me is not that with the decision is the administrative work that you said this is gonna create, and who that falls on, and what we can do to minimize that. I always hate making a decision that's gonna, oh yeah, by the way, this is more work for you. So I don't know if that's Deronda or who that is on the team, but if you can share with us what that is, maybe we can help that somehow.
John, I can speak for that. We use ADP. And I've already spoke to them, and once we make a decision, which is obviously for option 2, because option 1 wouldn't require anything, they will actually go back and calculate everything up as well, even though we have a person who is helping us through the unemployment side. They go back, they submit all of our forms that says, you know, what employee met whatever that pay requirement and rate was for that year, and then they catch it all up, set us up, and will do it for us each quarter.
Okay, great. I appreciate the extra help getting us going that way, Deronda.
I wonder, I'd ask what the original cost.
Looks like their ADP doesn't let a lot go without a cost. I mean, it shouldn't be much, but there'll probably be a small cost associated.
There is, I think it's $150 setup fee.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Thank you for that direction. Let's go forward. Okay, so this should be an easier conversation. We have recently conducted a mid-year review of the WIOA direct service contract. Yeah, so a little background, you know, as everybody knows, Career Team is our WIOA services provider. And they've been with us since 2018, but we renewed the contract in 2021. And the way the contract is written, it's written as a 1-year contract with an option to renew up to 4 years. And actually inside the contract, it calls for a mid-year performance review, but that's never really been done before. But as I looked at it, it's like, we really need to do this. And there are really kind of 2 reasons I thought, you know, that we need to do it. One is just to decide the fact that it's written in the contract is that, you know, doing a mid-year review, it provides a formal assessment of the kind of the health and performance of the contract, and the board needs to see that. And the secondary purpose is, you know, we have to renew this contract annually, and I think that you need to understand the health and performance of the contract to make an informed decision about renewal. So that's why we did it. That's why That's the reason behind it. The process that we used for this was pretty simple. We looked at 3 documents. We looked at the original grant proposal. And in that grant proposal, there's a lot of commitment. Where a team says they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. So we identified those different commitments or criteria in the proposal. We looked at the actual contract, and then we looked at Exhibit A to the contract, and Exhibit A has a lot more commitments and criteria. So across all 3 documents, we identified 66 commitments or criteria, and then we just simply made an assessment. Was that piece of criteria being met, partially met, or not met? And so at the board level, I pinned a lot of this on Brian. We made the initial assessment. Then we kicked it over to career team, Matt Bacon, the local executive director, and to Dr. Boone, and they looked at it, and then they had an opportunity to comment, push back, explain. And so it was a collaborative process back and forth to kind of reach consensus on the assessment for each one of these criteria. Let's go forward a slide. So let me just start by saying, bottom line up front, I am satisfied with the contract performance. Overall, it is performing well. Of the 66 criteria, 43 of it was being, 2/3 of it fully met. 18 partially met, 4 pieces not being met, and one of the criteria was just not applicable at all, and should probably be removed from future contracts. Of the 4 things not being met, it's really, they really weren't that important. I mean, we also tried to judge away how important was this piece of criteria. So I wasn't, the 4 not being met, I'm not too concerned about. When we look at service delivery, that is going very, very well. Business services component, the partnership ambassador, the career edge, we're doing a great job of delivering services to our customers. Probably the biggest area of improvement that we're focused on right now is quality assurance. And again, Matt and Robert and I have all talked about this. You know, we've been catching a lot of mistakes in some of our compliance pieces of this. You know, as I've told you guys before, WIOA comes with a lot of rules and regulations and oversight. It requires a lot of attention to detail and a lot of documentation. And we've been catching some stuff that we shouldn't be catching. And so we've had conversations about getting that cleaned up. So Matt's implemented weekly internal audits. And we are in the process right now of implementing a scoring system so that when we do an audit, we're going to score how thorough that case manager is on their initial run through. And so, you know, we can start with 4 people, and hopefully that will encourage more attention to detail, more thoroughness, pride of work, you know, document uploads, et cetera. So staffing levels, that's been, from my standpoint, that's been a bit of a modest concern. We've averaged about 8.5 of our 10 positions that career team has. And, you know, right now, what we've kind of reached an agreement on is that we'll hold where we're at until we see our next level is, you know, our next round of funding. If the funding's there, then we will look at hiring an additional staff member and bring that staffing level up. And in terms of financial management, that is also going very well between the board, career team, and National Label, our fiscal service agent. We meet, or we hold a call every 2 weeks, and we talk about our financials. One area, although we've been doing that, I mean, that's been going on, that practice preceded me. So that's been a practice that's been in place for several years now. Where I felt like we could improve it was actually keeping, formalizing it a little bit better, and keeping some meeting minutes so that we, you know, as we make financial decisions, that we've got a record of it instead of it just being verbal. And so we've implemented that already. So with that, let's go forward. So that's the mid-year review. Everybody's got a copy of that. I don't know if we had time to read it beforehand, but I've given you the cliff notes of it. I would like to ask for a 1-year extension, which would cover the period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. But before we get to that, I'll pause for questions or comments.
I did read it, and I thought you guys did a good job assessing that. because we needed to see the breakdown.
Yeah.
So that was a good job.
Thank you. It was a good exercise. It needed to be done.
Yeah.
When I asked for a contract extension last year, we had not done this, and I felt like there's something missing in my ask. And so I thought this would be a little more formal way to inform the board before making the ask.
Hey, John, what does BLUN?
Oh, bottom line up front. Sorry, that's military acronym. My apologies.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully I wasn't the only one wondering.
You lead with bottom line up front.
Okay.
Sorry, my apologies.
I was wondering if you're gonna get that.
Sure, it doesn't appear that we've got too many questions about it. so. Well, I mean, we would need to vote on to approve the 1-year extension.
Can I get a motion to approve the 1-year extension of our WIO contract?
Mrs. Beverly Ford, I make that motion.
Shit, thank you, Beverly. In a second,
I second.
in your name, sir?
Randall Curry.
Oh, thank you, Randall. Sorry, I just didn't see your name on there. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
No, it did it.
All right, Brian, over to you.
All right, good morning, friends and allies. This is Brian, and we get to have now the fun part of the board meeting. Now that we got all the business parts taken care of more or less. So we want to just rehash how we presented the format to you guys at the last board meeting. So we are trying to assess ourselves much differently. We got really positive feedback in our last board meeting there in February on this format. So we are going to start with just kind of giving an update on the aspirational goals. And so, John, I'm going to let you go through these. I think you're on the agenda for this.
Okay, so really no update on relocation efforts. No, I've not really put any effort into that since our last board meeting. Next one, we will having a first annual summer heavy equipment training program. I got it on here for us, but it's really a Sky CTC led event. The update here is that it's going to happen. There in the blue, you can see that there will be at least one summer class of 20 students with the possibility to add a second class of 20 students. We actually had a meeting yesterday and worked through some of this with Sky CTC, the chamber, Scott Murphy and Daniels, somebody and Scotty's Construction. My apologies. So that's exciting. And so we have, I just say we have kind of withheld some money so that we can help subsidize or fund some of the students to go through this program this summer. Okay, securing external funding for position continuity. The updates there are, in terms of the position at Fort Campbell, I've got, his position was funded really through the end of this month. I've got a little bit more money to fund him through the end of June, and I'm still working with the city of Bowling Green and Warren County Fiscal Court for an annual extension. There's verbally, it's very favorable, but I don't have the money in hand yet, but that's looking good. In terms of our new American position in St. Christopher, we are working and looking at a grant opportunity at the moment. We've also socialized her great work with the city and the county. She's doing, you'll see her numbers are just through the roof, but we've only got her funded through the end of this year, through December. So I'm looking everywhere I can to find money so that we can keep her in place. So that said, Bob, I overlooked her when I answered the question earlier. So she's another one that is on a grant. But if we go into option 2, this shouldn't be an issue. So anyway, we're continuing to push forward on these. So I think that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, so we should be seeing the heavy equipment turn green, a green circle by the next board meeting.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. All right, so we'll jump in. As John had said at the beginning, our focus, the theme for this meeting is going to be on employers and how we are serving them and driving innovative solutions across the region. So right off, we just want to be able to have a count for how many times are we having contact with employers. So this is a duplicative count. If we talk to somebody 3 times, that shows up in the 299 figure, but we really didn't have very many reference points to know because we haven't really tracked this as much as a goal. And with COVID, you can imagine there were limitations being able to see people in person. But we've been able, as John said, establish a lot of stability with our business services team and the main players for that. But across the board, any interactions that our staff have with employers, we are tracking that. So we're halfway there in 1 quarter. How impressive is that, right? So again, we're going to be able to know what truly should be a goal or maybe more of an aspirational goal moving forward. But you can see right now how aggressively we've been having contact with employers. And then the other thing that, okay, well, we can talk to them all day long, but are we referring candidates to them? And so this is another measure that we are trying to track better than ever before. So we had set what we thought would be an ambitious goal on the number of referrals. But if we refer 1 person to 4 companies, that's going to show up in the 3,000 goal number. And as you can see, we're over 70% there already as well. So more than likely, you know, we're kind of feeling that probably by the fall, if not by the very next board meeting, you'll see these numbers adjusted, or we might just say we're overachievers and leave it at that. But you can see again how many times that we are attempting to get information and opportunities about jobs to the job seekers. And we'll show a breakdown here in a moment on the number of people that we have that we're doing this with. So hiring events, this is something again that was a huge amount of work last year, a lot of coordination, and we are delivering this in different ways. And we'll give you an update here in a moment. Jake and Bianca will be able to speak to more of the 5 that we have done already. And many more are being planned, and we have much more of a jump start this year than any other year going through COVID planned events. And then workforce participation. So this gets into when we are having very intentional discussions with employers about how to increase their recruitment and retention efforts, but mostly showing them pockets of people that are in their own vicinity, in their own county. Or if we did it with a customized report with an employer, and we have done one of those. So you can see here again, we've hit about 24 out of the 75 that we'd like to have for a goal this year. And we will show here again in a minute all of the events. These are more event based when we do these, and we get a higher count when we have a group of employers in the room together. So we've got a lot more events planned. So the 75 should not be an issue to achieve either. So at this point, what I'd like to do is turn it over to our business service reps, Jake Brown and Bianca Wilson. So they'll kind of guide us through the remaining slides that we'll have here. And you guys may need to grab the mic that's over there if you don't already got it. Awesome. All right, take it away.
Okay, so on our business service menu, we have where we explain our work experience, our internship programs, our on-the-job training, and the way that we can assist employers by hiring events. These have been awesome, actually going out and just being able to hand out a menu that kind of lists everything, all of our services. And then people are able to reach out to us if they want to know more information. So we have our work-based learning programs. And as you guys can see, those are just kind of some of the numbers right now of how we have some people enrolled into the different funding streams.
Yeah, and I'll just add, so you can see the year to date is the regular WIOA funding, but John had mentioned already that we have special funding. We had COVID funding that helped carry us through the pandemic, and a lot of the folks that were being unemployed to try to get them reemployed and retrained. The tornado grant served a similar purpose for disaster recovery efforts, and you can see just the scale of how much has happened since we really started enrolling people by late to mid-winter last year. I should say probably more like maybe March, I think, is when the first participants got enrolled, so a little over a year ago. And that funding will continue, as Holland was mentioning, through the end of the year. And that's the same funding that is supporting Anna's position. But what does that mean? So it's 70 people, that's been support for 26 businesses.
And then, so it's, that's money saved by businesses because we're funding that through the WIOA dollars.
So that's an unduplicated count. So some of these businesses have had and enjoyed more than one participant through either this year or last year. Or both.
All right, so I want to take you guys through some hiring events. Particularly, I want to inform you of really 3 key areas. First, where these events happen thus far through the first 3 months of the year. I also want to talk about some upcoming events that we'll have until our next board meeting. And then I also kind of wanted to define, after the first 3 months, the first year we did this was 2022. So I kind of wanted to define what our vision is. What is our plan? What's our procedure for this now that we've got this going? So if you'll build that out, Brian, you'll see some of the locations that we've had thus far. So I kind of wanted to just define some terms for you. You can read that for yourself, but I wanted to define some terms. So you'll see an own-in staffing job fair. That was an in-house job fair. So when we talk about in-house, what we're talking about is a company coming to one of our Kentucky Career Centers in either Bowling Green or Glasgow to meet folks that come through the center, whether for unemployment claims, to meet career team advisors, those sorts of things. If they come in, they can learn more about opportunities, and a company will set up right in the lobby. So that's happened thus far this year with own-in staffing. You can also see a couple of our Career Center job fairs, one in Bowling Green, one in Glasgow. So the Bowling Green one was a really awesome one. We had upwards of 300 people attend that. It was probably one of our most successful events over the last couple of years. So we were really pleased with that. And then our Glasgow job fair, we were also really excited about that. That was one of our better Barron County job fairs over the last couple of years as well. You'll see SCWDB on there. So one of the goals that we've been working through the last couple of years is partnering with some of our educational institutions to actually bring companies on site to meet people who are going to be graduating from specific programs. So manufacturing and engineering happened, I believe, in February. So we had about 25 students come to meet manufacturing and engineering companies, and that went really well. We also do on-site job fairs for companies as well. So you'll see Ball Corporation and ARC. We did 2 on-site job fairs this year with them. What we do with that, Bianca and I will go on site. We'll actually help with pre-screening. We'll help with some interview questions. We'll help them fill out applications and those sorts of things. So all of that front stuff can get handled. So the HR manager can actually spend more time on an interview. And what we'll find, and you'll actually see a quote from the HR manager at Ball. If we are on site with them, we spend a lot more time doing that stuff. They can spend a lot more time with the candidate actually learning how their skills match the job openings that they have. And so they really appreciate that. And then you see a Talent Tuesday on there with Logan County as well. And of course, that's our premier event. That's the one where we do the marketing, we bring the companies, we'll find the locations, we'll do all of that. So I'll talk a little bit more about Talent Tuesday and the goals that we have for that. But some stats. I love stats. I really love these stats particularly, so I'm gonna say them. Companies in attendance this year, we had 56 companies, so that's a really good number based on what we had last year, comparing it to 2022. You'll see direct referrals. Direct referral means that a person came to the job fair, but they might have seen 5 different companies, so we'll count that 5 different times. So that's the difference in job seekers and direct referrals. So job seekers in attendance, we've had 420 thus far. If we want to do a comparison year over year from 22 to 23, we've seen 168% increase, or 2.7 times more job seekers than we saw last year through the first 3 months. So obviously things are going really well this year. And I want to tell you guys basically how that happened, why that's happened, and what we're doing to continually improve those numbers. So go ahead, Brian.
I think we can come back to this one. You want to do this first, or do you want to go to the schedule?
Let's go to the other one first,
Okay.
so I can talk about that really quickly. So in the first year, I think our goal was really just to create a brand for Talent Tuesday. Nobody had heard of this before. This was the first time we had done it. So when we went county to county and we would tell them about Talent Tuesday, they didn't really even know what that was. And so really what we had to do was tell them what this is, what our plan is, and how it can be beneficial to your company. And so when we were able to build that out, some of the issues we dealt with first, it was hard to find companies that were interested in participating because they didn't really know what it was. Second, it was hard to really find the locations that we needed to best benefit job seekers. So we can find a location, that's not hard, but where's the best location we can go that's going to match where a job seeker is going to be in any given day? And so we found that public libraries were a good place because there's a lot of walk-ins there. We found central to locations, whether it be in the downtown or areas where there's high traffic for public transportation and those sorts of things, so that job seekers can easily get there. And a third problem we dealt with was feedback from companies that attended our event. So if we have a company see 12 people, what happened with those 12 people and how do we collect that information? So those were the issues that we dealt with. But I think 2022 was a really big success for us marketing wise. So people now know what our events are and they're willing to take advantage of those events. And when I tell them where we're going to be and when we're going to be, I think that they're really excited to participate in that and make it as part of their recruitment strategy. So we saw that. But what about 2023? How are we going to build off that success? So in 2023, it was time to define some procedures, define some perimeters as to how we were going to work in. And as Bianca touched on, we created a business service menu that I think has been very successful for us going county to county. And within that business service menu, we defined how we're going to operate, what kind of job fairs do we participate in? Of course, we do Talent Tuesdays, we do in-house job fairs, we'll do on-site job fairs, we'll work with partners, and we'll work with educational institutions. Those are really the 5 areas that we're defining. And so with that definition, we're now able to treat all companies the same. In 2022, we were we would get an opportunity from a company and we would do lots of different things to try to help them as best we could, but we really didn't have a definition to say to that company, we will do these 4 things or these 5 things. And then the rest is up to you. So we created a perimeter this year and we think that's been really successful. So we've treated all companies the same this year. And I'll tell you second, with that business service menu, we can also define the kind of marketing efforts we're going to do. With Talent Tuesdays, we will use dollars to do marketing, but with the others, we won't. So we've been able to really be a steward of our finances with this year too. The next procedure I wanted to work on this year was we want to define 12 months out. Instead of going month to month, I'd rather just have a full calendar that we'll show you in just a minute of where we're going to be, when we're going to be, the date. And so instead of me having to talk to you 5 times throughout the year to get you to sign up, which you're going to get tired of hearing that from me, we can now just do a 12-month thing. So I can send you the full calendar for 12 months. You as a business can work with your HR team, work with your corporate team, define, okay, these are the 4 events we want to go through throughout the year. Jay, can you sign us up for these 4 events? That's been so much more beneficial for us, and it helps our planning quite a bit. And I'll now tell you about the hiring events that we're going to have throughout the rest of the year. I wanted to just really touch on the next couple, April and May, the ones that we're going to have until our next board meeting. So we're going to be doing a Barron County Housing Authority event with them. That's one of our partners. And so we're going to be working with some of their participants that they have on site. It's also open to the public, and we have 30 companies signed up for that event thus far. So we're really excited about that next week. And then we're going to have 3 Talent Tuesday events. So one will be in Monroe County on 4/25. We'll have a Butler County event on 5/9, and then a Warren County event on 5/16. So if you're a company or if you're a partner and you want to inform your folks about that, or you want to inform people in the community about that, please reach out to us and we can get you the specific details on that along with flyers. And so just generally, I think we've had a lot of success with this event thus far this year, building off our success from last year. So just clearly defining goals, clearly defining procedures has been a big help for us. And it's taken efforts from everybody in the room to really make it a success. So we're really pleased with it. That's all I got.
Okay.
I got a question for you. The Glasgow job fair, what was the numbers? I didn't see any numbers.
Yes, so we had 45 people attend that, and we considered it to be 82 referrals. So 45 people saw 82 companies, basically. Okay. And it was my understanding we had 9 companies attend. So anywhere from healthcare to manufacturing to food service, we get 9 companies there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jake said he liked data, so if you want to quiz him, it's coming out. It's spilling out of him right now.
And Brian, if you could send that PowerPoint to the board, that would be great to really look at it.
Yeah, great. So what we want to do next is whenever we have a theme, we like to do the show and tell. So we're going to kind of focus on 3 employers that we feel like we've served really well this year. So one of them is Fritz Winter. They're based in Simpson County. Anna St. Christoffel, they've interacted with us in multiple ways. So they were at our big January Kentucky Career Center job fair. We have a count and a total. Frank could tell you probably. I mean, we could dig through emails, but how many people they saw or interviewed that day. We do know that somebody got a really nice managerial position out of that day. And I think we shared that success story at the last board meeting. But Anna has had, just to talk about this coordinated effort in particular, there have been to date, and 10 more happened as part of the 76 number this week. 76 job seekers referred. I have been having some email issues, so I was waiting to hear back from HR. I haven't seen a message come in yet on how many have actually been hired, but we think it's definitely about 55 to 60 or so people. But what that has involved, because Anna works with new Americans, is that there's been folks mostly Spanish speaking that she has referred, and she has had a tremendous amount of interest just walking in our doors here every day, coming to see her about job opportunities. And Fritz Winter has been very amenable to paying well, making use of their limited English and being able to translate materials and provide some language access. But there's been a ton of onboarding that Anna has helped for this company to do. And actually, we feel like this might be a model, a fee-based model that we could start setting up where we do this amount. I mean, if you think about it, if you don't know English and to set up an account with your employer, you're gonna have to check your email for the confirmation code that just came in. Okay, help me, right? So she has gotten into that level of detail on assisting folks to make sure that they're successful, to make sure they've got full access to the employer. And so here's a quote from the HR recruiter, Heather, that she's been working very close with over the last few months. She said other things about Anna and you know, just said that she's been super, super impressive, but just the assistance and the help. So there's been a lot of on-site help, a lot of on-site coordination that has happened. So she's actually coordinated groups to come here to our board office as well and go over things with them. So this is not just, hey, found some warm bodies, take them or leave them, you know, here you go. It's been really, really hand-holding them through this process to ensure they're successful.
Company tours.
Company tours,
help
it
with
starts with that.
application,
Yep.
help with onboarding. I mean, it's way above and
In language company tour, so with interpretation available, so they understand what the commitments are, what they're getting themselves into here. So, so this is just an example. Now, what I can't promise is that who needs 76 people, you know, just call us up and we'll do it. I mean, there's been a lot of things in place to help it be at this scale. So that's one show and tell. I'll let Jacob Bianca take another one here with Paul.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we went to Ball Corporation back in March and helped them with that. And you can see a quote from their HR manager, Heather, from that perspective. They saw 48 candidates and we were really able to help them on the front end so that they could speak to those 48 candidates and really find what their skills are, how they would best fit within the organization. So again, that's what Bianca and I do. We handle the front end, we handle the boring stuff about pre-screening and get applications filled out so that they can spend more time with companies. And she's not the only one. We've done that many times throughout the last couple of years, and we've really seen some great success with that. And if you're a company and you're interested in doing that, Bianca and I can find a time to do that with you anytime you're interested.
And Tony.
Yeah, Antonio, sorry. You got a veteran. Yeah.
All right, here's the third one.
So this goes back to one of our work experiences. This is a place in Glasgow, Community Medical Care, and they are a nonprofit and they assist with low income seniors and working uninsured adults in Barron County. So they have, we've actually been working with Community Medical Care for I started back in 2019 as a career advisor and I had participants there. So we've been working with them for a while and they are great to work with. They recently got a participant there and like I said, they're nonprofit, so they really don't have it in their funding to hire people. So they assist our participants with gaining just experience to be able to update their resume and just help them gain those soft skills and get themselves back out there. But here lately, we've had somebody there and you can read through that quote that she sent us, but she is basically trying to find a grant to help this participant because she has came in and has been fantastic. And so Tina over at Community Medical Care, she just really appreciates the work experience program because not only is it helping our participants, but it is also helping businesses that might not have that funding breakdown. So it's a win-win for both sides of it.
What exactly does the participants do with this?
So at that one, they help with like administrative things. They help entering the phones because they don't even have funding to actually be able to run their front at times. So when Tina is out taking care of other things, she has other people there that can help. So it's been very beneficial to have our participants in there to just help with people that are coming in, help navigate them to where they can go for services and just different things within the office.
What are the hours?
That one is, I want to say they do mostly Monday, Wednesday, Friday from like 8 to 3 or something like that. I think is what they do.
All right. Thank you, Jake and Bianca. So you can see the scale of impact. We, short of bringing in one of the employers and having them speak on their own behalf here, we wanted to try to capture their voice and reflect that back to you all today. All right, we'll move into strategic goal number 2. We're going to go through the rest of these goals fairly quickly. There's just going to be some updates here, but again, the running tally on our goals, on engagements. So this will be more event-based meetings and interactions that we're having with institutions. So you can see here that we've had 11 to speak of year to date at the high school level and 5 year to date to speak of at the post-secondary or college level. Career services. So this will be when we are giving in a group or one-on-one assistance and explanation of basically workforce system services to students. And you can again see the numbers there. We have obviously been more focused on the high schools than we've been able to be with the college, but our goal related to that is as far as referrals also reflects how we're generating or focusing more on at the high school level. This will show more results, yield more results, especially at the high school level as we get through some of the big end of year job fairs and career fairs that are being planned that we are assisting with. And Matt will speak to some of that here in a moment too. Trying to generate that these students leave campus into an employer's loving embrace, right? So that they don't just spin out of control or duck and hide under a rock and not know where to connect. And so then again, we'll know more of the placements too, and be able to provide a better speedometer on that at the next board meeting. But again, we gave a little bit of a preview of what our spring support would look like. So we're going to give an update and I'll turn it over to Matt for that.
So within the high schools, we've had a few, myself and a few staff out. To prepare for the SCK launch job fair, which will be happening May 5th at Greenwood High School. There are 25 employers that will participate. Each student that participates is guaranteed 2 interviews that day, with the possibility of up to 5. And on top of that, they'll get to mingle with all the admin or owners of these businesses in kind of a networking session. So they can set up things for afterwards as well. Right now, we're in Warren County schools, at Butler County. We will be going to Edmonson County. We're doing things, helping students sift through the companies to see which positions may interest them. Going through and doing their resume with them, tailoring it to that position. Going through and doing some interview preparation as well. We've got several mock interview sessions set up for the next coming weeks as well at all those places. Yep, and then day of the event, we'll be there on hand just to help get students to where they need to be, help get those extra interviews in. And that'll, like I said, that'll last all day. And I believe, I'm not sure how many students are coming through each session yet, but there will be more than 100. For the Hart County CDL program, this will be the second year in a row that we run a CDL cohort that starts immediately after graduation, so that those students don't disappear on us. Our target audience is those high school seniors who may not know what the plans are yet. This is just to help them get them connected to something that sustain a lifestyle for them. This is Sky CTC setting up shop in Hart County in running the program.
Yep, yep. We'll actually be over there April 20th to do all the pre-screenings on the students. Sky CTC will visit shortly after to do the orientation for the students. So Sky CTC will go to where the customer is out of Hart County and do the orientation, and then return to do the cohort starting in late May, early June.
And it's not just for Hart County students. I mean, it's open to
Yep,
any of the surrounding counties.
right.
If those graduating seniors want to get over there and be a part of that, they can apply.
Yep, yep. Last year we had, I think probably half the class was from Barron County. So we'll be advertising to Barron County as well. And it's not only open to high school students either. High school students will go into the first slots, and then after that, we'll fill around with any adults who want to, any youth or adults who want to participate from those counties. Next.
Oh, yeah, so I'll just say real quick, yeah, Anna has been going out, and she's now made contact in Barron County to do, sort of topical presentations to graduating upper level ESL students who might be overlooked or discount themselves from opportunities that their peers have access to, and we're there to get in their ear and let them know that they have just as much right and access to go after college and post-secondary opportunities. And so several of us have sort of been on the speaking tour to go talk to students. Leslie has been the latest to go and talk about his personal branding and communication, nonverbal communication, because that is a big cultural difference. And so people need to know what U.S. employers expect. Looking in the eye, loud colors, just things that how people come across. So that's been well received in the schools, and it's allowed Leslie to get into some of the circles where she's formerly taught and been involved in as an educator here. So that I know that's been fun for her too. And then, yeah, you can see what we're doing with post-secondary.
Well, we're still within secondary. We got the career edge presentations. Like I said, those are fitting in with while we're going around and doing the circuit for resumes and mock interviews. In addition to the high school activities there, 21 of the 24 who started the heavy equipment program last August will be pathway completers this May. And we will be out, I'm actually out there today and tomorrow doing resume and interview prep with them. And then next week, construction companies are going to come on site at the ATC to do interviews for positions. So hopefully these students are hired out of the program before they're finished. And the chamber's goal was 100%. So that's going on this week and next week. For post-secondary activities, heavy equipment again, Dr. Myers will stand up the first post-secondary cohort of heavy equipment. The first one will have up to 25 students in it. It'll start late May and run through early July. And we've been talking with the employer partners on this as well, and they look to hire straight out of that group as well.
Is the entry level heavy equipment easily 50,000 a year? Easily. And so we feel very good about the prospects of everybody that gets to go through this program.
Yep. Sky CTC hiring events. We just kept up the activities from previous years where we do, I guess, major specific hiring events or job fairs. We've done automotive, HVAC, and welding. We healthcare, business and IT will come up. We also did manufacturing and engineering. The meeting I just left this morning involves both high school and post-secondary with Envision, Tyson, OM. They're looking to set up programs in the high schools that feed into Sky CTC 2-year programs where Sky CTC can do 2-year earn learn programs. So we'll be looking to speak more on that in future meetings, but that's on the way as well for both. Also post-secondary activities, we are working with Trio Services at WKU to help them on their circuit. Anything between job searches, college applications, FAFSA applications, scholarship applications, resume, interview prep. So we're staying on that circuit as well.
So, there's always that age-old question, would you ever want to go back to school? Like for those of us that are a little bit more removed from high school and college, yes and no, right? But if the yes part for me leans a little bit more, if I can take advantage of these things and get $50,000 coming out of high school, goodness. So there's very exciting opportunities going on.
From Envision this morning, the positions they're looking to fill will start out at $65,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go, folks. All right, we'll jump into strategic goal 3, which is a little bit more of a focus on our what we call focus populations. And again, I'm going to give you a running tally, just a quick update here on the number of engagements we've had by type. So running pretty even here between our 3 categories of new American, immigrant, and refugees, and then reentry, justice involved, and recovery, and sometimes presently incarcerated, and then military veteran. And that primarily is Mike at Fort Campbell. Career services for each of those categories. Again, you can see when we have done group or individual assistance to try to help connect people to the workforce system and those kind of aspects there that we call career services. Direct referrals, again, we've been tracking referrals more recently, but we've never really had a goal that we've set for ourselves. And so again, maybe a little bit of adjustment is needed for some of these populations that Anna has about doubled from her goal that we set out to give her for the beginning of the year. But again, that could be one job seeker that gets 2 referrals to a place. And so you can see there, and with 355 people and 400 referrals, and then who we know has been hired from each of those categories too. So about 160 just among the focus populations this year. So pretty impressive. I mean, it's just great data to have. This is also, I should add, we do track if there's we're attempting to track if at the career centers who our staff down there are working with that are getting hired. But we're, for the purpose of the board meeting, just showing you the ones that we have a little bit better control and that report their numbers into us to give you that breakout. So it's very possible an immigrant could have gone to the career center. It's very possible that somebody with a justice involved background has visited them even this week and been assisted, but these are the ones from our staff. And so John wants to speak to just a new major initiative that we're trying with transitioning military.
Yeah, so we're trying out something new. The challenge with serving transitioning military at Fort Campbell is oftentimes when we engage with them, they're still several months to a year out from leaving the military. So you get the initial engagement, and then you've got to like keep engaging them, and then you got to figure out how to get them connected to employers on this end, and then get employers on this end to be responsive and like what they see. So what we're trying that's different is that you'll see an example up here. We're offering service members fill out a quick form, get it to us, and we're going to create a profile card for you that you can use personally to promote yourself, but that we're also going to use to promote you to our employers in South Central Kentucky. So this is an example of a young man who's getting out of the military on May. He's going to be available for work May 15th, but he wants to do manufacturing or construction. And so we got his information. Leslie built this card. We took this card, we took his resume, and we took we also had him fill out another form that helps summarize some of his military experience. And we pushed it out to the employers that we know. And then we pushed it out to our chamber partners and industrial authority partners who help forward and promote this guy. So this, from what from the count that we've got, this guy's resume, this document and another document, 3 documents were sent to 122 employers. This is a significant increase in promotion for these Fort Campbell folks. And so we know that he got, once you fire it out there, then it's a struggle to know, okay, which employers responded to it. So we know that at least a half dozen employers reached out to this guy. There may have been more, but we know of at least a half dozen that reached out to him to express interest in talking to him and set up an interview. So we're still working with him. He's not been hired yet. He's not available yet, but this is an instance of an example of what we're trying to do, how we're trying to shake things up and change things up a little bit. Here's another person. This is a major in the Army. She has got a background in medical information systems. And so we put this card together. Now that go forward one. So this only went out to 9 healthcare providers in the region. So we've pushed her information out, and we've not. She's a little more senior. She's a little more experienced, and so she's probably going to be a little bit harder to place because she's not entry level in terms of her background and experience. She's higher than that. But again, this is just kind of previewing how we're trying to shake things up and push, better promote and push available service members to employers in this region. And the gist of this is, as you see this go out through email or social media, if you're an employer and somebody catches your eye, that little red button on the bottom, click to connect. What that'll do, you'll click that. That's going to take you to a form just to say, hey, here, you're going to fill it out as an employer and say which one of these persons you're interested in. This basically notifies Mike that, hey, you're an employer that's interested in Olivia here. And so that Mike can start working that connection and make the introduction and help direct Olivia and prepare Olivia to meet with you as an employer. So anyway, this is a new approach, a fresh approach that we're trying to take. It's been well received by employers, and we've had a number of service. I think the service members are still trying to figure out what this is, but we think we feel good about it. I mean, it's being well received. I will tell you, at Fort Campbell, on any given day, any given week, there are dozens of employers from all across the United States in there recruiting soldiers. And so we've got these things running on our kiosk and our TV. And we've had a lot of employers go, wow, this is, whether locally or visiting Fort Campbell, go, this is really cool approach. We've never thought about something like this. And so the employer feedback's been very good. And Mike and I, well, Mike is working really hard to get more soldiers to kind of latch onto this idea and adopt this idea. So.
And one other thing, we have purchased the domain KentuckyVetConnect.com. And I am building a page that will have all these profiles. And so if an employer clicks, it goes straight to that form. So we're just trying to go at it from all sorts of avenues. This is a visual way to help these soldiers stand out and give a quick rundown of their highlights. And the website should be running soon. We recently just switched over providers, so we're still finalizing that. But I do think it's a win-win for the soldiers. They're getting more exposure, and it's a win-win for employers looking to hire, especially looking to hire veterans, and they can get someone's main information within a minute.
So this is like combination resume, dating app, baseball card.
Yes.
All right, John, I'll let you give the update here for strategic goal 4, our focus on financial diversity and viability. That's it.
So we got a number of for strategic goal number 4 is really our accountability and our ROI focused strategic goal. So the first goal there for the year was to secure additional national dislocated worker funds. We had met that goal at the last board meeting, but since then, in fact, just yesterday, I received another $75,000 in tornado grant funding. So we've far exceeded that goal. Rebalance spending strategy. As I've been reporting, one of the things that we have to do differently this year than in past years is we have got to carry over about $170,000 into our first quarter being July, August, September. Just the way the money kind of flows in from the state, the way it parcels in is we need about $170,000 to carry over, and that'll get matched with about $200,000 that'll come in early July. And that'll be enough funding to get the board and career team through the first quarter. And so that's on track. We set that money aside, and I've got a plan for that. Reduce admin operational expenses, no significant updates here. Next. Clean external audit. Only minor update is I've talked to MCM CPAs. We've had an initial planning call, and we've got a plan in place. It'll begin in June. There'll be two on-site visits, one in June, one in July. They'll wrap up their audit results in August, and they'll start presenting back to the board in September and October on their findings. Hopefully the goal is to be a clean audit. And then the state, we want a clean audit from the state. That audit has started. It started on the 4th of April. And they are moving much faster than in years past. So I think this audit will be wrapped up in the next couple of weeks. And perhaps as early as maybe by the June board meeting, we'll be able to present our findings from the state audit. So those are the updates on this strategic goal.
All right, now we'll jump into what we're calling just our workforce participation update section. So again, the main focus has been on our collectives. So real quick, let me ask anybody wants to answer online or in the room, what are we doing with our workforce collectives? I said it. Now, Josh, you can't answer this. Board members only. Online could answer as well, or Zoom.
Trevor has attended.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, it was really good.
So what are we trying to, what kind of happens at those?
Well, I was late because I had another meeting, but when I got there, you all were discussing job fairs and for companies of how to present themselves and how to sell themselves. And it seems really simple, but it's not, it's more about you don't want a super busy table. Don't stand behind the table, greet people up front. But those are some great tips, and I can tell from everyone's just nonverbal communication that they were like, okay, we're doing a lot of that wrong. And we broke into groups and did some discussion on different topics. I just thought all around it was really, really good.
Great, thank you. Yes, so this is basically our way to take data that Josh is uncovering. And that was really the purpose of his position, is to cover lots of data, but what are the factors that are causing workforce participation to be what it is, and how do we drive that up with some short-term and long-term strategies. And one of the short-term ones we thought was if we can get employers in the room to hear this information, that might help them know they have to differentiate their message on marketing and presentation skills and things like that. But we have done this now for 3 official times. And you can see we've got several, we kind of thought a lot of this would happen in the first quarter of the year, but it's kind of stretched into the second quarter here. And then we'll have a few more that we're still waiting to do, which includes Metcalfe and Simpson, as well as Warren County. So we haven't really been trying to do anything in Warren County yet because that workforce participation is highest in the region. And so we really want to get the message to the other counties first. So that's our first preference, is to get through all of those. And then we do think, because we've changed the format and the presentation style a bit, that we owe Butler County another opportunity, and we'd like to have more participants than we had back in December when we did that. And so, yeah, just to talk about the format, and Trevor was mentioning, so we kind of have a 3-fold way that we're going into this. We're hitting them with the local and the regional data. So who are the people in their neighborhood, right? So we're singing Sesame Street to them, and we're telling it with numbers. And so jaws drop when we get to this part. I mean, we really are saying, people go, wow, we knew, but we didn't know it was this bad, or we didn't know it was this specific. And so we're showing some regional information as well, just to kind of balance that. Then we kind of come in and talk, okay, let's imagine that there's these different pockets. There's 4 primary ones that we can break up into generations. But then there's secondary factors going on. Folks might be justice involved. They might have a disability. They might be an immigrant or a refugee with limited English. And so we're getting them to think about these different pockets and what are appealing ways to recruit them. And then what do they need to know about how to retain them? Because some of the companies, and I think every employer can testify, it's not always about replenishing your open positions, it's about making sure you don't replenish them next week. And kind of, stop the bleeding there. So there is very much a managerial supervisory, responsibility that employers play with this, but they have to hear, if they don't have an opportunity to have anybody else get in their ear about what maybe differentiates baby boomers from Gen Z, the newest generation coming into the workforce, they need to know that. If Gen Z are supervising baby boomers, what implications does that have on their preferences and their styles? So we get into that and we let them do, as Trevor was saying, a group activity to kind of think about the do's and don'ts on recruiting and retaining. And then Leslie hits them up with a lot of information also, as Trevor just mentioned, about, very simple things they can do with flyers, printed materials, job fairs. I spoke to a group of employers yesterday and I said, I'm going to sound like, we are farmers. Dum, 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 dum. We know a few things because we've seen a few things from those ads. And so we can speak to what some of these fails are that we see actually play out at job fairs and with flyers. Because this is very much sometimes at a local level that people don't really know how to do the marketing very well. And we feel that pain. We know that's a struggle. So we want to equip people to know how to do this. And so just to give some information here, so just a few shots from among our different collectives that we've done. That's a really good picture, Jake and Bianca. But we've had 43 attendees so far. And Trevor, you said at the beginning, you didn't know what the ratings had been, but here's the cumulative rating that we've had. So we're pushing the 9 mark and some quotes that have come in. So we asked for anonymous survey feedback. Leslie doesn't let them leave the room until they finish a survey to give us this feedback. And, it's very much been feedback that we might get from one session that we take to the next session. So one time it was, we need to have a group activity. Other times, I wish you could show an example of how to do it properly. So we've, each time we've taken this feedback and implemented it into the presentation. So these are going very, very well.
I would encourage everyone, if you've never seen a presentation or this one in particular about hiring different generations, like a boomer, they want to come meet you in person. If you text them, they might not get that. The younger generations, don't call them. So I think that's very important to learn how to communicate with each generation. It does mean a lot. You can't communicate and expect to hire every different generation the same way.
Yeah.
The data that we present is very tailored to that specific county. And it's shocking data. There's a shocking number of people not employed in your county. And we're breaking it down by these different demographic groups. So, that means there's also an opportunity to recruit these folks and get them to come back into the workforce. And that's kind of how the presentation wraps up, is what marketing technique do you need to apply to get, whether it's justice involved, baby boomer, Gen Z, military veteran, how do you market that? And I think the big switch for employers is, employers, we're used to marketing and hawking our wares and services to a consumer. But right now, the job market is such that you better be marketing to job seekers. It cannot be one size fit all. That's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you. And so you really need to take a much more nuanced approach. Think about who you want to hire and be very nuanced in how you market to them and bring them in. And so that's if I could summarize the whole presentation, that's it. Like, how do you take a much more nuanced approach to recruiting populations back into the workforce? So, yeah, we're in a big function of a workforce board like ours is to provide labor market information. Typically, when somebody asks for it, we just run a report. In this case, we're coming and doing a very detailed presentation backed by tremendous data and research by Josh, who we're very fortunate to have on loan from Western Kentucky University. So,
yeah, and so we've also found kind of a sweet spot of a 2-hour format to do this. So thoughts and prayers for us next week, because we got to do it in about an hour because we only have a lunchtime slot. So it's a lot of information. We don't even like to cut off at the 2-hour mark. And what's funny on these survey responses, wish we could talk more about this, wish we could talk, oh, now, we whetted your appetite. In 2 hours, you wanted it to go longer, but when we did these summits in a longer format before, we really had trouble, and it's hard to ask people to be out of the office for a half day or better. So this is meant to instill some go and take these, activities that we're doing and do them among your team. Go have conversations about the generational pockets and about these different subgroups of potential employees. Because obviously it would just be weak if it was just HR that were equipped with this. It needs to go across the board. All managerial level needs to be equipped to know this. So.
And if I can just add, I've sat in kind of on a sort of one with our Sumitomo Scottsville office, but it's really valuable to hear it with your community leaders, I would think, as well. So you have your industry and your community leaders all hearing the same thing at the same time. And it's kind of a good spark for communication between industry and our county leadership. So I think it's really great.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Do we have any final questions, comments, discussion we didn't address? You guys thought we were going over. I could tell. I could see the anticipation, like, oh, we're not on time anymore. But look at this.
Dr. Myers has a hand up on there.
Okay, Dr. Myers, did you have a hand up?
Not on purpose, sorry.
Oh, not on purpose. Okay.
They're here.
Oh, okay. Never mind. It was something with our controls. Anyone else?
Well, this is Rebecca. I just wanted to say to you all, good report and great job y'all are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Hey, Brian, I'd like to throw one subject out there for discussion, rewinding all the way to some of the first strategic goals and the work that Anna's doing with New Americans. First of all, I'm not sure if she's on or in the room today, but it's fantastic work. And I am also very appreciative, not just for what she's done for those companies, but just community in general, trying to bridge that gap is really important. We have several hundred New Americans here at Kobe Aluminum, and I understand the resources that it takes to hire that and her willingness to support companies on an individual level to get them onboarded. That's has to be very valuable to those companies. My request is that anyone who's on or has joined the meeting today that could help me out is amongst the large group of our Spanish-speaking employees, there's a group that came from El Salvador at different points over the past handful of years, and they are here working under temporary protective status. That is set to expire. It may get kicked out. If it doesn't expire, for us specifically, there's 7 or 8 employees that are at risk for no longer being able to stay in the US. So companies like ours can sponsor them and work them through the green card process, but it's expensive. I don't know the numbers exactly. I use my AI tool to try to gather some information and speak intelligently here, but we'll call it $5,000 to $8,000, and there's some qualifying questions. But anybody that has resources or help, not just for my company, but for others in that realm, I think there's the potential for a drain on some of the hard work that we're doing right now to place these folks if this happens. So any resources that someone can share with me. We, of course, have a few immigration attorneys that are telling us what we need to do. What I'm looking for is someone to pay the bill. We're going to pay it. If not, they are worth it to us. But our state is coming alongside, and our community and local government funding a lot of things these days. I can't imagine anything more valuable. I don't know what they can and can't do legally, but the help would certainly be appreciated.
Yeah, that is well said, Mr. Boggs. I appreciate that. From my limited knowledge on that topic, there is a cap set each year on the number of people that can be sponsored by a business. So it is possible, but I know the government sets a cap each year, and it's not anywhere near what you would want it to be. So I think it's kind of first come, first serve on that. So, but yes, let me hit a few contacts and try to find an answer for you. I'm not aware of any services that presently exist to assist with that. But there are more services available than ever before for a lot of different groups of people. So maybe we'll find something.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm scratching around every time I have the opportunity to see what I can learn, and depending on what you're trying to accomplish for the individual in terms of work visas or green card or citizenship, the process goes from likely to lottery, depending on the situation, and so it's hard for me to keep up, but certainly appreciate any advice.
Okay. Dr. Myers, I'm gonna kick it over to her. So I think she was gonna comment on the heavy equipment program. So Dr. Myers, over to you.
Okay, thanks, John. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I did not have my hand up on purpose earlier, so I apologize if I did do that, but since I'm here now, I do want to just give you a quick update. Many of you know that we work with the support of the board. Actually, the board met in particular, working with Career Team at the time to write a grant for some simulators. And we have had a very successful first year in our heavy equipment program. It's offered at the Warren County ATC. SCWDB hired an instructor and working in partnership with Warren County schools. We have 22 students that are going to complete that program. So we are working with the board and with the chamber in doing a hiring event for those students. We're really excited about that. But what I wanted to take just a quick moment to share is that we are now, and we only have one instructor. And of course, he's working in the high school, but he is completing the school year toward the end of May. I think the 24th or something like that is their last year. So we are about to announce, so I'll give it to you the general details now, a program for introduction to heavy equipment operation, not unlike what we do with CDL. Again, this board has been extremely supportive of our CDL program. I'll just give since I'm on here, I'll give a quick update on CDL. We have at the end of January, we had already licensed as many people with a Class A commercial driver's license as we licensed all of the prior fiscal year. So that program is on track to double. So we are about to announce a heavy equipment program. It will also be a 4-week program. It will run very much like the program in the high school with respect to curriculum, use of the simulators, and students getting their hands on. They won't be digging after 4 weeks, but they'll have their hands on and work on the equipment, things like that. So we anticipate after a meeting that we had yesterday, in which John was in with the chamber, that we will launch that program on May 30th. So it will be a 4-week program. It'll run the weeks of May 30th and June 5th. Typically it's a Monday through Thursday, but it'll be adjusted for the holidays, of course. So the weeks of May 30th and June 5th, we have to skip a week because our instructor is also he is National Guard active, if you will. And I'm sorry, I don't know all the proper verbiage there, but he has a commitment that week of June 12th. Then we'll come back on June 20th, the week of June 20th and June 26th, and complete that program. And we'll be opening that up to employers who may be interested in those students. We're starting it early like that, or as early as we can at the end of May, because we want to be able to we anticipate demand sufficient for a second group that we could then run in the month of July before he has to go back to school on August 9th. So we're very excited about that. And also we ran a Hart County CDL cohort last year for graduating seniors. We are doing that again, and we're having some requests from other counties in our region. So just want to publicly thank the board for the support that they've provided for the CDL program and what we now know will be a very successful heavy equipment program as well.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else?
Really quickly, I want to share about an event that we're having in Barron County next month. And if you all have anyone in your organizations that want to participate in this, feel free to let me know, or you can look us up on Facebook and see the event information there, but it's a community resource fair in Barron County at the Hero Center, so same place as the job fair. Tuesday, May 23rd, 12 to 3. We already have about 25 registered vendors, so right now we're just trying to get the word out and hopefully get a good attendance to that, but we're gonna have individuals focusing on healthcare, educational opportunities, financial assistance, job placement, and childcare.
And on our website, on the events tab, there is a section where you can submit an event. So anything like that, I would encourage you all to do that. It has to, it'll come to me, I just check, yes, this is okay, so it's not something crazy. But that event calendar, you know, you can make submissions. And if you have a graphic, then you can upload that as well.
Thank you.
Tori, I'll say Frank is our one-stop operator, and he keeps communication with a lot of the community resource providers, and so he can also help promote that.
Perfect.
So.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Is that it? I think that's it.
Before we adjourn, I'd just like to thank everyone for attending today and the great discussion we had. If there's no further business, we'll see you back on June 8th, and we are now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.